So welcome everybody to our webinar today. Um, the aim of the webinar is really to orientate everybody around the upcoming or ongoing request for proposals that the data platform is running for scalable curation. So with myself today, so I'm Jerry Lanfear, the Elixir CTO. I'm joined by Joe McIntyre from the Emble EBI, who's the data platform lead, and also Susanna Repo, head of operations from the Elixir Hub, who's going to be doing a lot of the operational side of running the RFP. So a little bit of background. So the Elixir services are a key part of our infrastructure. They arise from our nodes. And to give you some idea, there's some 400 Elixir services are now within the overall service portfolio of Elixir. Of those, many are data resources. This includes the Elixir core data resources, which are a crucial part of that infrastructure, but also many other data resources of a more focused nature. And indeed, these remain a major focus for the Elixir data platform. Given that curation is a cornerstone for providing accessible resources that benefit all researchers, EDP is exploring possible technical solutions and the infrastructure needed to support scalable curation activities. So in other words, ideas that will enable curation to be better enacted across those data resources, core data resources and others. So building on the previous EDP implementation studies, which we ran across 2017 to 2019, we now invite proposals for another round of implementation studies on establishing scalable curation workflows. We seek proposals that meet a scientific need, develop excellence in service delivery, and drive the mission of the platform. I'm just going to check that there are no hands up at the moment, so there aren't. I'll proceed. Thinking about the objectives and the scope. So the objective is to, of this round of current implementation studies call is to strengthen the various aspects of data resource management within the context of Elixir, such as semantic annotations of scientific publications, curation processes, and platform and data integration. And in terms of scope, we'll expect that successful proposals will support the collaboration and integration of data resources within and across various Elixir nodes. For instance, to assist with curation of data resources, to integrate data resources with the literature and mechanisms that support high quality data curation. So what you see here are relevant topics. So these are ideas that the data platform leadership had that may be recommended for a proposal, but they're not limited to this. So these are really to give people some ideas on the sorts of things that we could expect to come through in a proposal. So they could include extraction of new entity types from the literature, develop or implement FAIR principles in sharing text-mined annotations, literature triage to support curation, curation support tools beyond traditional literature, e.g. to supplementary data and preprints, maybe a more automated or assisted automated approaches to extract that type of data, remapping of curated database annotations to support text in scientific articles, curators improving annotation and triage platforms, community curation, refactoring of curation pipelines, evidence-based requirements for curator workflows via text mining, ideas for collating the best across the community, need to choose the best, and then how to integrate core annotations into workflows, but there will be others. So these, you can imagine that there may be proposals around particular services in one or more of these ideas within an individual proposal. I can pause there if there are any immediate questions, if anybody wants to put their hand up, if they've got any immediate questions on that, or we can come back to that at the end. I don't see any hands up at the moment. I don't see anything coming through in the chat, so I'll carry on for now. So thinking about the scale and duration of the proposed work, the overall budget allocation is 83 person months. That's approximately 800,000 euros. We are expecting the proposals should be framed around a 24-month period of work, and that they would start more or less a year from now, of the 1st of January 2022. We would expect to support between 5 and 8 implementation studies. And so that being the case, we're not expecting individual proposals should exceed 18 person months. So depending, obviously the number of studies that we end up funding depends somewhat on how much those individual studies, how much resource those individual studies request. Proposers are permitted to submit more than one application, but these must be clearly different. And during the pre-evaluation phase, which we'll come back to in a second, proposals will be reviewed to check for overlap. It's important to note that if we receive fewer proposals than can be accommodated by the funding envelope for the scheme, there is no expectation that all proposals will be funded. All proposals will be evaluated against minimum acceptance criteria, and only those reaching the minimum acceptance score will be accepted for funding. So, you know, just because perhaps we only had 5 projects submitted, we wouldn't necessarily support all 5. They would still have to reach certain quality standards. We have set some eligibility criteria which are particularly important to think about. Obviously, the proposal should include an element of the relevant topics listed above or similar, as I explained previously. The proposed work must include at least one Elixir service. So it's important that people understand that a service in this context is one that's included within a node service delivery plan and is listed on the Elixir website. The purpose of Elixir is to connect national nodes and services. So proposals should include at least 2 Elixir nodes. So therefore, for example, a project that increases value and or usage of one service across Elixir nodes is eligible. Work included in a proposed implementation study must not duplicate work funded by other sources, although of course it may build on work from previous implementation studies or other funding. And these eligibility criteria will be, of the proposals, will be evaluated by the Elixir Hub after final submission, but before the projects are reviewed. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Susanna Repo, who's going to take us through the remaining slides, starting with the submission instructions. Susanna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Jerry. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you from me as well. So I'll talk briefly now about the submission instructions, and just to remind everybody, all of this text that we have on the slides is also available in the call text that is accessible via the intranet. So if you go and log into the intranet on the Elixir website, you can see there's a link to the call text at the landing page of the intranet. So talking about the submission of these proposals, so we will accept submissions via an online web form. And the URL for this form will be made available in the call text and on the intranet landing page from 1st of February. The proposals, as you prepare them, they must provide a justification of person months requested on a person-by-person basis, and also what each package of funding will deliver. And we obviously, because this is commission services, we expect everybody who is receiving funds in these projects to be a member of Elixir nodes. And if there is any questions around the membership of Elixir nodes, then we ask you to contact the node in question and confirm with the head of node before submission. And also, once the proposals have been submitted, we will contact the heads of nodes to confirm that every member, every partner in the project are part of Elixir nodes if they are to receive funds. As Jerry mentioned, the resources, services that are partners in the implementation studies, they must be part of the node service delivery plans. And And then we will also request the submitters of the projects to ensure that the relevant heads of notes, so the heads of the notes that are partners in the projects, are informed and agree with the content of the final proposal. But contrary to the earlier data platform request for proposals call 2 years ago, we will not request specific declaration of support letters, but we will ask you to confirm that the heads of notes are informed and agree with the proposal when you submit your proposal. The proposals, they need to be concise but readable, and obviously as you prepare the proposal, you should keep in mind that the reviewers will not be fully versed in the Elixir context, so that should be explained how this is relevant to Elixir as it's described in the call text. And we also recommend then that the proposals are broken down into a small number of work packages, and leaders of these work packages are identified amongst the partners of the project. There will be a template how the project plan should be structured. And those of you who are familiar with implementation study project plans, it is the same template that we've used before. There needs to be milestones and deliverables, but it's important that it's not a long list of those, but it's a reasonable way of describing how the project will achieve the outcomes that are expected. And each node that receives funding in the project, they should be assigned responsibility at least in one deliverable. And this is very important and will be checked as well by us in the pre-evaluation stage. And then finally, in order for us to fund the proposals in the time frame that we expect, we will request every proposal to submit a costing form. So this is for the budget of the project, the Euro budget. And there are guidelines for this, how to prepare the costing for the project, and these should be followed. All right, I think we can go next slide, please, Jerry. So once then we've received the submissions, the review period will start, and all of the proposals will be sent to 3 external reviewers. And once we have received the external reviews back, there will then be a 2-week rebuttal phase when we send the external reviewers to you as the applicants, and we ask if you have any comments on or rebuttal on the reviews. And then after the rebuttal period, there is a evaluation committee meeting. It's probably going to be a virtual meeting, this one, to decide on which proposals are to be supported in this call. And next slide, please, Jerry. And in the evaluation process, we are using the evaluation criteria that you can find in a separate document that is linked to from the call text. The evaluation is conducted by experts that are from the community, from this scalable curation community, but they are, and also experts in the field of bioinformatics, but they are not themselves part of any Elixir node, so they are external experts to us. And these 5 criteria for evaluation are listed here. So there are scientific focus, scope, need, the community that is to be served, the quality of science, how the proposal supports the mission of Elixir, and then the legacy of the project after the funded phase. And in the criteria of evaluation document that is linked to from the call text and from here, we go into details on what are the different aspects of these 5 evaluation criteria. And when you submit your proposal in the submission form that is online, we will ask you to specifically state how your proposal matches these 5 evaluation criteria. So these are really important, and we really, really encourage anybody who wants to submit an application in this call to really look into detail on the evaluation criteria and make sure that their proposal matches in what is expected in this call. Next slide, please, Jerry. So this is just the final slide on the summary of the timetable. So the call was published in December. Now today is the webinar, and the call closes end of March. So all proposals will have to be submitted by end of March. We will make the submission form, as I said, available by February, and then you still have then February and March to submit your proposal. And this is a hard deadline. I think it's very important to emphasize this. We will not accept any proposals after the deadline specifically given in the call. And then in the spring, we will conduct the external reviews and the panel meeting to decide on which projects are to be funded. That's expected to be in June. And then the selected studies will start from 1st of January next year. And there's a link to the also the full call text. And as I said, it's available from the intranet landing page as well. I think that's all around the process. I can stop here.